Hey, Tiffany. I waved as I pulled up next to her as she hopped out of her car. I parked quickly and met her.
Hey, Sonia. Another week working at the mall. I will never understand why you'd want to do this. You're rich.
I laughed. There's more to life than being rich. I nudged her playfully. And besides, my parents are rich. I just enjoy helping people, and I want to make something of myself. By myself, you know? At this point, I didn't realize that a change of events was about to shift my entire life. Want to know what they are? Keep watching.
Hey, mystery guy alert.
Tiffany winked at me as she attended to a customer. Every Saturday, a cute guy walked into the store and looked around, but would never buy anything. However, today, he approached me.
Hi.
His dazzling blue eyes looked into mine. He scratched his head nervously. Hi, how can I help you? I smiled politely.
I know you don't know me, but...
He cleared his throat and spoke quickly.
Can I take you to the movies sometime?
Sure, why not? He told me his name was Dante and we exchanged numbers. Over the next few weeks, we spoke every day. He was funny and really easygoing. Eventually, we did go to the movies on a date. After the movies, we went on other dates, and after 3 months, we were officially a couple. One evening, as we watched a movie, I turned to Dante and asked, "What type of pizza should we bring to Tiffany's this weekend?"
Huh?
Dante looked at me confused. Saturday. Tiffany asked us to come over to watch a movie this weekend, and we said we'd bring a pizza.
Oh yeah, how about Hawaiian and pepperoni?
Sounds good. But this wasn't the only incident where I spoke with Dante and he seemed clueless. One time he forgot we made reservations for dinner. Another time he forgot Tiffany's name. But the final straw for me was when he ordered caramel popcorn with nuts at the movies when he knew that I was allergic to nuts. When we got back to the car after the movie, I turned to him. Dante, what's going on with you? I feel as though you're two different people sometimes. Dante lowered his eyes.
I'm so sorry, Sonia. I knew I should have told you sooner, but I was kind of embarrassed and I didn't want you to think I was a freak.
I held his hand. Why would I think you're a freak? Dante sighed heavily.
When I was 7 years old, I got into a car accident and I hit my head. Dad said I had amnesia for about 2 months before everything came back. Everyone thought I'd make a full recovery, but shortly after I regained my memory, some of my short-term memory gained gaps. So basically, sometimes I'd forget and other times I won't. I'd understand if you want to break things off and never want to speak with me again.
Dante, I'm so sorry you had to go through that. I pulled him close and kissed him. You're the only one I want. Dante smiled.
How about we go to my house for a bit before I drop you off?
I nodded. I had never been to Dante's house before. When we pulled up to the front gate, my eyes widened. The house was gorgeous. It looked like something from a Rich and Famous magazine. This is beautiful, I said as we drove up to the house. Once settled with a glass of wine, I asked, "So tell me about your family."
I'm not really close with my family. After Mom passed, we grew apart.
I squeezed his hand. I'm so sorry. Don't worry. Things usually work themselves out. Dante quickly changed the subject. We hung out for a few hours before he dropped me home. While at the mall, looking for an anniversary gift for my parents one afternoon, I saw Dante and was about to approach him when the guy he was talking to spun around. But then I felt my jaw drop. The guy looked exactly like Dante. I tilted my head. Two of them? How? When Dante turned, I hid between the clothes racks outside a clothing store until Dante and the other guy walked away. I ran all the way to my car. After I cried a few minutes in my car, it dawned on me. That was probably why Dante didn't remember everything, because there were two of them. I mean, who does that? My sadness quickly turned to anger. If the guys want to play games, then play games we must. I turned on the engine and drove out of the mall parking lot. I went along with the twin charade. Over time, I was able to figure out which twin was which. I called them Dante 1 and Dante 2. Dante 1 had a small mole right above his eyebrow, and Dante 2 didn't. My plan to use them was only supposed to be for a few months, then I would tell them that I knew what they were up to. However, I realized after 3 months that Dante 1 was the only twin that came to meet me. Eventually, my revenge slipped away and I fell in love with Dante. I can't help who I fall in love with, can I? After 1 year, Dante 1 asked me to marry him, and I agreed. About 2 weeks before the wedding, I overheard Dante 1 on the phone, and my blood ran cold.
Listen, Chuck, once I marry this chick, I'll have all the money that I need.
I decided to hire a private investigator to dig up all the dirt on Dante 1 and his family. First off, Dante 1's name was Alexandro, and his brother's name was Aiden. They made money by swindling rich women. Mr. Finley, their father, lost his company about 7 years ago. Around the same time their mother got sick. Within a year, she passed away, and the boys blamed their father since he couldn't afford proper healthcare for her and abandoned him. Once their father re-established himself, the brothers tried to re-enter his life, but he cut them off completely and removed them from his will. Dante, too, was recently widowed. After 6 months of marriage, his wife passed away in her sleep. The family of the woman thought foul play was involved, but they could never prove it. Since then, Dante 2 had been married 4 more times, and Dante 1 was married 3 times before. All wives died the same. But, with their gambling addiction, the money was never enough. I knew it was time to end the charade. "Thanks for coming with me to tell Dante the wedding is off," I said, as I turned the key and walked into Dante's house.
I'd have it no other way. I'm ready for this.
Tiffany pulled out the rolling pin from her purse. Tiffany followed me to Dante's office. I pushed open the door and stepped into the office. Tiffany and I froze. There stood Dante 1 and Dante 2. Before I realized what was happening, Dante 1 and Dante 2 overpowered Tiffany and I. The last thing I remembered was Tiffany slumped to the ground before I was knocked unconscious. When I woke up, Tiffany and I were on a boat, bound and gagged.
Grab her legs!
Aiden nodded to Alexandro. I looked on in horror as Tiffany wiggled and squirmed as they picked her up and tossed her overboard. "No!" I screamed through my gag. Tears rolled down my face. Tiffany was dead and it was my fault.
What's the plan for this one?
Aiden kicked me as Alexandro started the engine of the boat.
We have to stick to the plan. Chuck wants his money.
Once we docked, I was blindfolded and taken to another location. When the blindfold was removed, I was in a dungeon-like room that smelled horrid. There was a hole in the ground for a toilet and a small bench on the corner. I was shackled. Alexandro told me to call my parents and tell them that we were going to elope, and I needed to sound happy. That was the hardest 2 minutes of my life. I didn't know if after that phone call I'd ever see or hear my parents' voices again. My parents gave us their blessing, and I told them I'd be off the grid for the next 3 months, and they shouldn't worry about me. I promised them that they would hear from me as soon as I returned. Alexandro threatened me to put on a wedding dress, and pictures were posted on my social media page. After Aiden forged our marriage certificate, a month later they faked my death. They said I died in a boating accident after Alexandro and I took a private cruise ship to a remote island. Alexandro, because he was my husband, got all my assets. After 6 months of being a prisoner, I was able to escape after Aiden accidentally left my dungeon door unlocked. It took me 3 days before I arrived at my parents' house.
Sonia?
Mom screamed as she hugged me and brought me inside. Dad ran into the room.
Margaret, what did you say?
He looked at Mom before he realized I was in the room. My parents took me to a private doctor who ran some tests on me. They never revealed to the doctor my true identity. The doctor recommended that I get some rest and place me on a strict diet until I was able to consume foods as I should. About 2 weeks after my escape, my parents paid not only for me to have plastic surgery, but they also had a full makeover. We also legally changed our names. They knew that the twins were probably still looking for me, and they weren't about to lose me twice. After we healed from the plastic surgery, we moved to another country and hoped to start a new life. But what do you do when you try to start a new life? But your old life comes back to haunt you. While shopping at a store, I saw Tiffany assisting a customer. Yes, you heard right. How could this even be possible? I couldn't let this pass up. I hired a young lady, Amanda, to befriend Tiffany. I told her what to say and how to act. We also changed her name to Stephanie. Once Amanda built a relationship with Tiffany, I told her to invite her to the club. We wired Amanda and sent 2 private security guards to look after her, just in case something went wrong. While at the club, Alexandro and Aiden showed up.
Hey, Stephanie. I'd like you to meet my 2 brothers, Aiden and Alexandro.
My jaw dropped. Her brothers? Tiffany explained that her father had an affair with his secretary who died during childbirth. But unlike her brothers, she took her mother's last name, not her father's. Further into the night, I found out that I was a target the first week Tiffany met me at the mall, and I played right into her hand. I hired a private investigator to follow Mr. Finley for about 2 weeks before I made my move. Mr. Finley was an older, handsome version of his sons. I knew I had to play this carefully to pull this off. Did I feel bad for involving Mr. Finley in this mess? Maybe just a little, but that didn't stop me from doing it. On Friday afternoons, Mr. Finley visited art galleries. I made sure that I was at the last art gallery he visited that afternoon. I walked up to him as he stared at one of the photos. "Have you figured out what it is yet?" Mr. Finley smiled at me.
Not yet. Do you have any ideas?
He smiled. "It looks like a giraffe I drew when I was 5. And when I asked Mom what it was, she told me it was a dog." Mr. Finley laughed heartily. We moved from picture to picture, and by the end of the night, we were having a late-night drink at Mariano's, one of the most expensive restaurants in the city. It wasn't long before I won over Mr. Finley's heart, or should I say, Giovanni. After 3 months, Giovanni and I eloped. One lesson I learned from before: always have backup and cameras. Without telling Giovanni, I placed tiny cameras around the house, and I paid a company to keep tabs on my stepchildren. I got word that they planned to kidnap me. On the night of the kidnapping, I noticed when they entered the house, and I pressed my alarm, which alerted the police. I sat in the office and waited for them to barge in. "What do you want?" I raised my hands in the air. Alexandro, Aiden, and Tiffany all wore black masks and black clothing.
We just want to kidnap you for a few days. Your husband will pay a hefty sum to return you unharmed,
Tiffany said.
Let's just grab her and get her out of here.
Alexandro said impatiently. Tiffany walked behind the table and grabbed my arms while Aiden kept the gun on me. Just then, the office door opened. It was Giovanni.
What in the world is going on here?
Giovanni looked around the room.
Sir, stay right there.
Aiden tried to disguise his voice.
Aiden, is that you?
Giovanni grabbed the mask off the person closest to him. It was Alexandro. Distracted, I slapped the gun from Aiden's hand and it fell to the floor. Tiffany, Aiden, and I scrambled to retrieve the gun. In the scuffle, the gun went off twice. Everyone froze. Giovanni groaned and his knees buckled. While Alexandro held his side, we all looked at where the shot came from. Tiffany pulled off her mask. Her eyes were wide with fear as she dropped the gun from her hand. Tiffany and I ran to Giovanni's side while Aiden ran to aid his brother.
Tiffany, we have to go.
Aiden tried to grab Tiffany's hand as he supported Alexandro with his other arm.
Dad!
Tiffany screamed.
Fine.
Aiden retorted and left the room with Alexandro. A few seconds after they left the room, I heard sirens and police officers barge into the room. Giovanni was rushed to the hospital, and Tiffany was placed in handcuffs. The police questioned me at the hospital while Giovanni was in surgery. So, how did my story end? Giovanni died, and I now have a net worth of $100 million. Tiffany, Aiden, and Alexandro spent consecutive life sentences in prison for breaking and entering, attempted kidnapping, attempted murder, and aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. After Giovanni's death, I opened a foundation in remembrance of him to help people who needed financial assistance. It's not a fairy tale ending. However, it was the ending that I deserved.
I was having a bad morning. First, the power was cut while I was taking a shower. Then my car wouldn't start, and now here I stood, waiting for whoever lived in this huge mansion to open the gate and let me in so I could clean the 1,000 rooms they probably never used.
Hello, name please?
A man's voice came over the gate's intercom system. Even his voice sounded rich. I rolled my eyes. Jenny from Sparkly Home Services, I said in my practiced professional voice.
Oh yeah, sorry I kept you waiting. I forgot you were coming today. Please, come in.
The gate made a buzzing sound and swung open. I picked up my cleaning supplies and walked up the ridiculously long driveway. I rang the doorbell and had to wait again for His Royal Highness to get off his throne and come open the door for me. If it wasn't for the fear of getting fired, I'd give him a piece of my mind. I was so angry at him for... The door opened and all my anger evaporated. Standing in front of me was the most handsome man I'd ever seen.
Hey, sorry again. I was on an important international call and I couldn't excuse myself from it. I'm Andy.
I couldn't see my face, but I was sure I was blushing. It's, okay, I'm here to clean you. I mean your house. Have you ever been so embarrassed you wished the earth would open up and swallow you? That was me standing awkwardly in front of Andy. Want to know what his reaction was? Please like this video and subscribe to our channel. Also, please save me by hitting the notification bell.
Hey, are you feeling all right?
Andy reached out a hand to touch my forehead, but I took a step back so fast I tripped and fell on my butt.
Oh no. Are you hurt?
He offered me his hand, but I didn't take it. I'm okay, I can get up myself. I tried to stand up, but pain shot through my ankle. Ouch! I screamed as I fell awkwardly back to the ground. The amused look on Andy's face was replaced by concern.
I think you twisted your ankle. Let me help.
He carefully lifted me and carried me into the house. I just need to put some ice on it, then I can start cleaning.
What? There's no way you'll be able to work.
If I don't, then I'll be in trouble at work. I can't afford to... My thoughts went back to the cold shower I took that morning, and my car that needed a trip to the mechanic. I needed to work.
I'll just tell your boss that you cleaned. The place is not that dirty anyway. You need the day off.
Andy was not only handsome, he was kind, too. That's very nice of you, thanks. I better get going. You have a lovely home, by the way.
Thank you. How about I drive you?
You don't have to do that.
I want to. Come on, let's get your stuff and go.
We loaded my cleaning supplies in Andy's fancy car, then drove out of his compound.
Where do you live?
I gave him my address. My mom, brother, and I lived in a part of town very different from Andy's. Our apartment block was old, with paint peeling from the walls and water leaking from most pipes. Thanks for everything you've done for me today. As soon as my ankle is better, I'll come and clean for free. We were sitting in Andy's car parked outside our apartment. I'd have invited him in, but I was embarrassed he'd see how bad our living conditions were.
Jenny, could I get your number? Maybe we could go out to dinner?
My heart started drumming so loud I was afraid he could hear it. Yeah, sure. He handed me a pen and a piece of paper, and I wrote down my number. A few days went by, but Andy never called or texted. Every time my phone rang, I jumped hoping it was him. After almost 1 week, I gave up and decided to forget about him. However, one morning, a call came in from a new number. It was Andy. He apologized for taking a long time to call me, saying he'd been out of town on a business trip.
Are you free tonight?
Yes, I am, I said eagerly.
How about I buy you dinner?
I removed my phone from my ear and took a deep breath to calm myself. Dinner sounds lovely.
Great, I'll come by at around 7 p.m. See you then.
The rest of my day was a blur. I borrowed some money from Mom and went shopping. I bought a beautiful dinner dress, then got my nails and hair done. I was going to pay her back as soon as I cashed my paycheck, which I'd collected that morning. I was so nervous I'd barely eaten anything all day.
Where's your fancy boyfriend taking you?
My younger brother Alex, who was home from college, asked. He's not my boyfriend.
But you've been smiling all day like a fool. I even saw you walk into a door because you forgot it was there.
Alex was annoying, but I loved him. I turned down going to college so he could go. Mom could only afford to pay for one of us. My phone rang and I almost dropped it. He's here. My palms were sweaty and I had to take several deep breaths before opening the door.
Wow, you look gorgeous.
Thanks. You look great in a suit. Andy drove us to a 5-star restaurant I knew very well because I went there often to clean. I'd never walked through the main entrance though. My colleagues and I always came and went through the service entrance.
Hello, I'm Mario. I'll be your server this evening.
As he was handing me the restaurant menu, Mario's eyes widened with recognition. He lived across the hall from us, and he was Alex's best friend. I took a single look at the menu and lost my appetite. Some of the dishes cost more than our rent.
Are you ready to order?
Wow, everything looks so...
Delicious, I know.
I was going to say expensive. After a few minutes of fiddling with the menu, I ordered a simple spaghetti dish that was still ridiculously priced. Andy, on the other hand, did not hold back. He ordered steak with a side of seafood and a bottle of wine. I couldn't help but laugh.
What's funny?
I'm sorry, but your order is enough to feed a small country.
I couldn't resist. Everything here is so good.
The rest of the evening was perfect. Andy laughed at all of my jokes, even the lame ones. At the beginning of our evening, Mario brought our bill. Andy looked at it, then reached for his wallet from his trouser pocket. He stood up abruptly and checked his back pockets.
This can't be happening.
Andy, what's wrong?
My wallet. I can't find it.
Maybe you dropped it in the car?
Probably. Wait here, I'll be right back.
He quickly walked out. Mario and I waited in awkward silence. After a few minutes, Andy was back. Did you find it?
No, I probably dropped it at the gas station. I went there before picking you up.
So what do we do now? I didn't have enough money to cover our huge bill. People sitting at other tables were starting to stare at us.
I can take you to the manager's office. She will know what to do.
No need for that. I have something that will cover our bill. I reached into my purse and handed Mario the paycheck I'd collected that morning.
What's this?
It's my paycheck for the week. You have my permission to cash it. Andy quickly stepped forward.
Oh, no, I couldn't ask you to do that.
It's okay. We should leave now.
I promise I'll pay you back as soon as I get to an ATM machine.
Please don't. Consider this my treat.
Seriously? Oh, you're the best. I was so embarrassed in there.
As we walked out of the restaurant, I wondered how I was going to cover my bills and expenses until my next paycheck. Also, how was I going to pay Mom back? A few days passed and Andy still hadn't found his wallet. He said he was waiting for a new credit and ATM card from his bank. During the week, we went out for a movie and a few lunches, all on me. Whenever we ordered takeout at his house, I paid. He told me to keep all the receipts so he could write me one big check for all of the expenses I was covering. I had to pick up extra shifts at work to fill the huge dent left by our dinner bill and our other dates.
I'll actually pay you twice the amount, so don't worry, okay? You're the perfect girlfriend.
He said one evening as we watched TV at his house. That night, I went home on cloud 9. Andy had called me his girlfriend.
What's got you so happy?
Alex asked when he saw me smiling and texting. If I was a cartoon character, I would have heart emojis swirling in my eyes. Nothing. Alex grabbed my phone and looked at my texts.
You're still seeing this loser? Did he ever pay you back?
No, but he will soon.
I can't believe you. You know Mario told me something about him, but I didn't want to upset you, so I kept it to myself.
What did he tell you?
The restaurant he works at was catering some rich guy's birthday party 2 days ago. Mario saw Andy there.
So he's probably friends with the host.
Jenny, he was there with a girl.
You're lying, or Mario doesn't know what he saw. Or maybe she was his sister.
Do you hear yourself? You're making excuses for him just like you've been doing. He's using you, Jenny.
Get out of my room! I couldn't listen to his ridiculous accusations anymore. Andy was perfect. I decided not to ask Andy about what Alex told me. But after a few days of wondering, I couldn't keep it to myself anymore, so I asked him if it was true. He denied ever being at the party Mario mentioned. That was a week ago. He'd driven me home later that night, and I hadn't heard from him since. I needed to do something. After work, I went to his house. I entered the code he gave me at the gate and walked into the compound. When I rang the doorbell, I closed my eyes and hoped he was home. When the door opened, I didn't wait for him to speak. Andy, I'm sorry. I stopped mid-sentence because the person standing there was not Andy. It was an elderly lady with graying hair and a walking stick. When she saw me, she took a step back.
How did you get past our gate? Barry? Get out here, I think we're getting robbed.
What? Wait, ma'am, I'm not a robber. I'm Andy's girlfriend. Is he home? The lady was probably his grandma or something. How sweet of him to let her visit him. My boyfriend was just so thoughtful.
Young lady, who is Andy?
An equally elderly man asked as he joined the lady. Andy, your grandson, he probably mentioned me. I'm Jenny. They looked at each other confused. I searched for a photo of Andy on my phone and showed it to them.
Oh, you mean Andrew, the house sitter.
Their faces lit up with recognition.
He left as soon as we returned from our trip overseas. He's a lovely young man. He took such good care of our house.
He did what now? No, it couldn't be. The lady must have sensed my distress because she invited me in and sat me down. The first thing I noticed was that the huge portrait of Andy normally hanging on one of the living room walls was gone. So Andy does not own this house?
I'm afraid not, dear. Andy was our house sitter. We hired him from a company called Sparkly Home Services.
Oh my god, we worked for the same company? I was going to be sick.
Take a deep breath, dear.
The lady put her hand on my shoulder and I started sobbing. How could I have been so foolish? All right, guys, let me grab some tissues. I'll be right back. After I composed myself, I told them everything starting from the first day I met Andy at their house. Mr. and Mrs. Barry were shocked by my story. I thanked them for listening and was about to leave when Mrs. Barry stopped me.
I have an idea. How about we give Andy a taste of his own medicine?
How do we do that?
Leave that to me. Just be here tomorrow at 10 a.m.
Mrs. Barry smiled.
Oh boy, I know that smile. She's about to start trouble.
Mr. Barry laughed. The next day, I went to the Barrys' home like we agreed.
All right, Jenny. Are you ready?
Nervous, but yes, I'm ready.
Good, because he's walking to the front door now.
Mrs. Barry said as she stood by the window facing the gate. I bet you're wondering what we're up to. Well, earlier that morning, Mrs. Barry called Sparkly Home Services and told them that she needed to hire Andy again. He immediately accepted the job. When he rang the doorbell, my heart started to pound.
Come right in, Andrew.
Thanks, Mrs. Barry. My supervisor said you...
Hi, Andrew. It's nice to finally meet the real you, I said, stepping forward so he could see me. His eyes widened.
Jenny, I can explain.
Save it. I'm not in the mood for any more of your lies. I just wanted to see the look on your face when you saw me.
We are very disappointed in you, Andrew. We trusted you with our home and our car, and you used them to lie to Miss Jenny.
But I'm...
Andy took a step back, and another, then guess what he did? He ran away like a crazy person. The Barrys lodged a complaint against Andy, and he got fired immediately. I never heard from him again. Despite my regret about letting Andy fool me, it was a blessing in disguise because the Barrys hired me to cook and clean for them every day. Their pay was so much better. Within a few months, I was able to move us from our old apartment into a much better one. I was also able to pay for my remaining online classes. Above all, I learned my lesson. I learned my lesson.
Hey, Stanley!
Yes, sir.
You'll be doubling as a waiter tonight, so once you're done cleaning, get dressed in a suit and get ready to serve the guests.
Sir, I'm supposed to close by 7 p.m. That's the end of work hours for me, sir.
Well, not today. You'll probably be here till tomorrow morning. One of the waiters fell ill, so you'll have to take his place.
Sir, does this mean I'll be paid his wage instead since he won't be coming in? The director burst into laughter.
Dream on, Stan. You're not getting paid a dime for the extra hours you'll be working. If you're not happy with that, feel free to quit. There are millions of janitors ready to replace you. And in case you don't know, these people are happy to be paid half your salary for more work.
Half of $2 per hour? I asked, surprised. Who in the world would want to be paid $1 per hour? I only took this job because I was dying of hunger. Sir, could I just get a tiny little bit of money from you? You didn't tell me about the event earlier, so I didn't bring anything decent to wear. I have to go back home, pick up something, and come back. He rolled his eyes and gave me my exact payment for the day. Nothing for the transport to go home and return again on the same day. Sir, this is my payment for the day.
I'm aware.
If I go home and come right back with this, I'll not be able to go home after the event or even get something to eat. I haven't had anything for almost 2 days.
And you look so strong and healthy, I think you should starve yourself for a few more days so you'd feel better.
I could feel the tears roll down my face as he walked away. I rounded my cleaning up and walked to the gate, but a security officer stopped me.
Stan, my boy, what's up? Going home?
Not really. I have to get something decent to wear and come back.
Why? You're done for the day?
The director gave me extra work. I'm doubling as a waiter tonight.
Oh, that's good news. Extra cash, huh?
The tears that formed in my eyes answered his question.
Completed the school fees yet?
I burst into tears. No, I think I may have to drop out. He patted my back, feeling sorry for me.
Follow me.
He took me to his locker where he brought me out a worn-out suit. It was baggy and kind of torn, but I was so grateful. I knelt down and hugged his legs.
Please, stop it.
He said as he went back to his position, squeezing $20 into my hand before leaving. This action meant the whole world to me because I knew that he wasn't getting paid much either, as we were grossly underpaid and undervalued in the company. Hi, my name is Stanley, and today I'm sharing how I escaped the shackles of poverty and became a billionaire by doing something simple. Hit the like and subscribe button if you also want to become a billionaire without breaking a sweat. The event tonight was a fundraiser hosted by a crazy billionaire called the Mad King. I ran around serving drinks, snacks, and cleaning up after people. The Mad King donated to various charities that night, and the crowd went wild with happiness.
Guys, calm down. I know you all love me. Yeah!
The crowd replied.
Phew, look at these waiters running around and cleaning up after us. Such a hard and unappreciated job. Do you guys know that I once worked as a waiter? What?
No.
Impossible.
I don't believe it.
Really? Yup, I did. This is your lucky day, waiters, because today I'll be giving you all $10,000 each.
We all jumped happily. Our director quickly climbed up the stage and took a different mic.
Wow, you're even more amazing than we all thought. Sir, we respect you so much.
He said while bowing down to the Mad King.
Who are you?
The Mad King looked concerned.
I'm the director of this event hall, sir. I'll be taking the money for all the waiters whom I'm in charge of. We are 6 in number.
Oh, of course. Great.
The Mad King wrote down 6 $10,000 checks and gave them to our director. First of all, there were only 5 waiters. Secondly, why did he need to take our checks? I mean, we have hands. As the director walked past us with an evil smirk on his face, we knew that we'd probably never see our $10,000 checks, ever. There was no way I was going to let this happen, though. I needed money to solve a lot of problems. I needed to pay for school, rent, medicine, my sick and dying mother's medical treatment, and much more. I couldn't let him just walk away with my $10,000 gift. So I followed him and stopped him in the hallway close to the kitchen. Director, please wait. Could I have my own check? I just want to keep it safe myself. Thank you so much for receiving it on my behalf, sir. The director turned slowly while staring me down.
Get lost, fool. You work for me, so your money is my money. Your gifts are my gifts. You're not getting any check.
I burst into tears for the 3rd time that night. Please, sir, I beg you, please. I need some money for school fees, rent, feeding, medicine, and medical bills for my mother. Even if it's just $1,000 from the $10,000 that you'll give me, I'm fine with that. I promise never to say anything about the extra $10,000 checks that you collected.
Stanley, are you deaf? I said you're not getting a dime.
Okay, sir, could you give me $500 then? I saw the anger on his face. What about $100? I just need to get some medicine for my mother. The director stretched his hands towards me like he was accepting to give me the $100. But all of a sudden, his fist was flying at me, and all I saw was black. When I finally opened my eyes, I felt myself being pushed in something like a cart. Everywhere was dark, but from a tiny hole in the container I found myself in, which seemed to be a cupboard, I could see that I was being wheeled out of the hallway into the hall where the event was happening. I tried to say something, but noticed that my mouth was gagged and covered with duct tape. No one could hear me. My hands and feet were also tied up, so I couldn't move. What the heck was wrong with our director? Whoever was wheeling me stopped when he got into the hall and just left me at a corner. At that very moment, the Mad King picked up his mic to make an announcement.
Fans and lovers, I'm going to change someone's life today. We're going to play a game right now. You see that cake there?
He pointed towards me, and everyone looked on top of the cupboard that I'd been locked in.
I've hidden a tiny check of $1 billion inside it. The waiters are going to cut the cake into tiny pieces and share it, and one lucky person will win the money.
Obviously, the crowd didn't trust the waiters to cut the cake to avoid them winning the money. They gently inched towards the cake. At this point, I realized that I was in danger. I had to get out as quickly as possible. I struggled and managed to free my hands and feet. After that, I ungagged myself and tried to sneak out, but I was too late.
So, this is how it's gonna work. After...
The crowd didn't need to hear more from the Mad King because the cake was already surrounded and people were pinching around it. When others noticed the people pinching, they started pinching too, and next thing, a fight broke out while I struggled to escape amidst the chaos. As elegantly dressed men and women plunged their hands into the expensive cake, eating and searching it like mad people, I carefully crawled out of the cupboard. Unfortunately, the mad crowd managed to knock me out in the chaos. I didn't know how long I was out, but a heavy splash of cold water brought back my consciousness.
You've breached your own employment contract by getting drunk and passing out while on duty. As a result of this, you won't be paid for a full day of work.
What? I didn't drink anything. I was knocked out by the crazy crowd.
2 days for lying.
What? How can you do this? This is all your fault. You knocked me out, gagged me, and put me in the cake cupboard in direct danger. I could have been killed. You should be arrested for this.
3 days for threatening your boss.
I felt a familiar pang of resentment in my soul, but I just kept quiet.
Still have something to say, Stanley?
I just stared at him angrily.
4 days for giving me a bad look. But look at it this way, Stan. You're free to quit if you're unsatisfied with your job. Feel free to quit anytime.
Stanley.
Huh?
It's Stanley. Only close friends are allowed to call me Stan, and you're not one of them.
5 days then, Stan.
He looked at me expecting a reply or a bad look, but I just kept quiet and looked at the floor, defeated. When he was satisfied, he left. I got up to start cleaning. The hall was empty and everyone had gone home. After standing up, I noticed that I had been lying on a huge chunk of cake. I was so happy to see this because I hadn't eaten in a while. The cake was a little bit squashed and dirty, but I didn't mind at all. I happily ate it straight from the floor. While trying to swallow, I noticed that a hard paper was blocking my throat. I curiously pulled it out and couldn't believe what I saw. It was a tiny, customized check card of $1 billion. What? So no one found the check after last night's madness? People must have gone home feeling pretty stupid. No wonder my director was the last to go. I guess he stayed back to make sure there was no cake unturned or squashed in this case. Unfortunately for him, though, he didn't find the one I was laying on. Could this be real? I was probably still unconscious and simply dreaming. I put the tiny check in my pocket and continued cleaning. It was Sunday and I had to round up quickly so I could go spend the day with my mom. When I got home, I noticed that the check was still in my pocket. This was real after all. I wasn't dreaming. I really won $1 billion. After keeping the check in a safe place, I spent the day talking and laughing with my mother.
Tell me the good news.
What do you mean, Mom?
I can see it in your eyes. I know something good has happened.
Shh, it's a secret. You can't tell anyone no matter what, okay?
I promise.
She said in her sick voice. It made me sad that money was stopping her from getting better, but I knew that all that was coming to an end. I told her what happened, and she tried screaming, but her sickness didn't let her. She managed to jump a little bit on her chair, though, and it gave me so much happiness. First thing on Monday morning, which was the next day, I went to the bank to cash the check. On seeing such a high amount and seeing how haggard I was looking, the bank staff had to confirm by calling the owner of the check first. He gave them the go-ahead, and the money was wired into my account. I couldn't believe my eyes. My account had to be upgraded because the previous account type couldn't hold such an amount. The first thing I did with my newfound wealth was to give my mother the best treatment available. I also transferred to a better school and paid all the necessary fees until graduation. I separated, then locked some money for college, invested in stocks and Bitcoin, paid my rent for a few years, and bought necessities that would also last a few years. After that, I bought the company I previously worked in as a janitor. I demoted the director to a janitorial position, then forced him to give all the waiters back the money they won with interest. I collected my $10,000 from him and the $10,000 he stole and gave it to the security guard that helped me that night. I increased the salary for all the workers in the company and started paying them their standard wages. This made them happy and willing to even work more, thereby tripling the income that the company was previously making, indirectly increasing my wealth. With my wealth growing dramatically as a result of my company and investments, I started buying rental properties, which my mother started managing as she got better. The more my wealth increased, the more I invested. 2 years later, I realized that I never thanked the Mad King, and that was a huge mistake. I traveled to his place with gifts and apologized. I told him that I was grateful to him for changing my life, and I wanted to work under him for free to make up for thanking him late. He laughed and said that I was the only one he had granted money who ever came back to thank him. He also accepted my proposal to work under him for free. My actual reason for wanting to work under him for free was actually so I could learn the secrets of wealth building through him, and he knew this. Besides, I didn't need to work for money anymore since my money was now working for me. To my surprise, he gave me the position of a janitor to begin with, and as disgusted as I was, I knew that it was simply a humility test, so I accepted it. He promoted me every 6 months until I finally became his personal assistant. I worked with him throughout high school and college, and it took me a few years, but I was able to learn all the secrets of wealth building and became the next Mad King after the death of my master.
Hi, I'm Sandy from Los Angeles. Please like and subscribe. When I was born, Mom almost screamed with joy at the sight of me. Oh, thank God she's beautiful. It would have been so embarrassing if I had an ugly daughter. Here, take her. She handed me to the nurse while a team of stylists swooped in to make her camera ready. See, my mom was a really famous actress, and she thrived on her fame. When she walked out of the hospital, she stood on the stairs and lifted me up, and the crowd waiting for her went wild. What was I, freaking royalty? My childhood was just about moving with Mom all over the world, wherever her next movie was. I couldn't even join school and always had a tutor. And I discovered something really soon. I hated the attention as much as she loved it. Once I was 6, Mom took me to her movie premiere, and I hated all the cameras and the screaming fans. After the movie, Mom was speaking at a press conference when she suddenly turned to me. My daughter absolutely loved it. Come on, honey, tell them. When I saw all the cameras pointed at me, I suddenly felt really sick. I wanted to say something nice, but instead, I just threw up all over Mom. It was a big joke all over the news. A picture of me puking on Mom with the headlines, "What baby Sandy thinks of her mom's new movie." She was mad at me for days. After that, she hardly took me to any events, and I was so happy. One time when I was 11, Mom came and told me that the producers are offering her roles to be a mother in the movies, and that made her furious that they thought she was too old, and she got into a deep depression. The next day, Mom jumped on my bed. She looked super excited as she told me that a really big Hollywood producer had moved in next door. "He's got a daughter your age, Sandy. You're going to be her best friend so I can get close to him and he can offer me some fantastic role." Before I knew it, she was marching me over to the neighbors. She rang the doorbell and hid behind the bushes. A pretty girl opened the door and I started to speak, but she put her hand up. No, stop. I don't talk to just anybody. Who are your parents? Anyone famous?" When I told her about Mom, she wrinkled her nose. "She's kind of old news, but I guess we can be friends. Whatever, follow me." I really didn't wanna, but with Mom signaling like crazy, I went inside. It turned out Christine wasn't all that bad, and we actually became good friends. Also, her dad did end up offering Mom a movie role, and she was ecstatic. We soon started school together, and when we walked in on the first day, we were suddenly surrounded by a swarm of boys telling us how pretty we were. Christine and I soon rose to the rank of most popular girls, and everyone wanted to be friends with us. I hadn't expected this sort of attention in school at all, and I was enjoying it. The only thing that bothered me was that Christine could be really mean sometimes. She'd mock people and make fun of them, and I didn't like it at all. But for some reason, I never said anything. I just didn't know how to react at that moment. In 8th grade, a girl named Nicole joined our class, and I could tell that she wasn't as well off as the other kids here. Later in the cafeteria, I saw her walking toward our table and I smiled at her. But Christine suddenly knocked over her juice. "Oh, Nicole, don't just stand there. Clean this mess up." What? I don't work here." "Oh, I'm sorry. I got confused because your clothes look like a janitor's." As all the girls laughed, I stared at Christine in shock. "Wait, she was just kidding, Nicole. Come sit with us, please." "Ew, what's wrong with you, Sandy? Can't you tell she's not in our league? Just look at how she's dressed. And who knows how often poor people even shower? What if she has lice?" "That's enough, Christine!" And then suddenly, I slapped her. Are you crazy? Do you realize what you've just done?" "Yeah, I should have done it a while ago. You're an awful, nasty, shallow person, Christine, and I'm done being friends with you." "Oh, you're really gonna regret this." And with that, she stormed off with her friends. Nicole turned to me and said, "Thank you for standing up for me, even though we're not friends. Hey, from now on, you can count on me as one." And when I got home, Mom was waiting for me, completely hysterical. Christine's dad just called to say that all my movie contracts are canceled. Why would you slap Christine? Are you insane, Sandy? Go apologize to her right now. "No, Mom, I can't be friends with her anymore. She was horrible to this girl just because she's not as rich as..." "And why is that your problem? Who are you, Batman? Robin Hood? You're gonna ruin my career because you want to be a hero, hun? You're so selfish." "Really? Well, I guess I learned that from you, Mom." I stormed off to my room and slammed the door shut. Mom could be angry at me all she wanted. I actually felt relieved ending things with Christine. Nicole and I grew close, and we hung out all the time at school, and even at home. But Mom just wasn't talking to me, and she rudely walked off every time Nicole was over. She could be such a jerk. But one day, Mom finally broke her silence because she couldn't hold back her news. "I'm receiving a freaking Emmy nomination for my last role. You know, the one before you ruined my rising career. Oh, this'll be so great for me. Everyone wants to cast an award-winning actress." She was dancing around excitedly when suddenly, she slipped on something and landed hard on her butt. She screamed like a banshee as I called an ambulance. The doctor said she'd hurt her hip bone and would have to stay in bed for 2 weeks. "What? Oh no, I can't miss the Emmys." Suddenly she turned to me. "Of course you'll represent me. Thank God you're pretty like me, and you'll have to deliver the speech on my behalf in case I win." I was horrified. The last thing I ever wanted to do was to speak in public. But Mom wasn't really giving me a choice. Maybe she wouldn't win, fingers crossed. I invited Nicole to the event, and it was fun to get all dressed up and go in a limo. But as soon as we stepped out, a swarm of journalists surrounded me. "You're Jennifer's daughter, right? Wow, you're more beautiful than your mom. When will we see you in a movie, Sandy?" As I tried to walk past them into the building, I suddenly saw a snotty-looking woman holding back Nicole. "Who are you, and who invited you?" "Hey, she's my guest. Check your list. I sent you her name." She found Nicole's name, but then she said, "Fine, she can go, but you should have told your friend not to dress in such shabby clothes. This is a fancy event for elegant people, not just anybody off the streets." What? I was so furious. I was about to attack her, but Nicole held me back. "Don't, Sandy. Let's not make a scene. Let's just go in." But I was fuming with anger all evening. And then to make matters worse, Mom did win the frickin' Emmy. And I had to make this speech. Oh my God! Was this actually happening? Nicole pressed my hand reassuringly, but my legs were trembling as I walked onto the stage. Good evening, everyone. I'm Sandy. Here to take the award for, yes, Mom. My throat was drying up, and I was sweating like crazy. And before I knew it, I'd thrown up on stage, on national television. Mom was beyond furious. She was acting like I'd ruined her golden moment on purpose. And worse, I was now a laughingstock at school. Christine, especially, was having a glorious time. Look who's here. It's the puke machine. You made my day, Sandy. It's not like your mom even deserved that award. She was a loser till my amazing dad gave her another chance. Better stay out of my way, Christine, because your face makes me really sick. I might puke on you any second. I pretended to gag, and she shrieked and ran off. I'd hardly lived down the Emmy disaster when one morning, I heard Mom screaming, and I ran down to find her sitting on the floor, hugging a newspaper and weeping. Mom, what happened? Look at this! It was a picture of Mom at home, walking around on crutches without any makeup. The headline said, "The True Face of Jennifer, a tired, faded old woman." Mom, I'm really sorry someone wrote this. Suddenly, she turned to me with crazy eyes. It's you! You sent the newspaper my pictures! What? Why would I do that? Oh, why did you throw up at my premiere and the Emmys? Why did you end things with Christine? It's because you've always hated my career and my fame, and all you've done is try to ruin it. Mom, you're completely crazy. How can you even think that about me? Why else would anyone do this? And you're the only one who could have taken these pictures. As Mom walked away angrily, I couldn't help thinking there was only one person who could. Not Christine. She'd been out of town for the past 2 weeks. It could only be Nicole. Nicole looked shocked when I confronted her in school the next day. And suddenly, she burst into tears. How could you think that, Sandy? I would never do such a thing. Go ahead. See my phone. See if there are any photos. Nicole was so upset. I felt terrible for accusing her. I told her I didn't need to check her phone and that I was sorry. But then it just had to be Christine. Maybe she sent one of her minions to spy on my mom. Oh, hello, bestie. It's so good to see you again. Hun, who are you talking to? Psycho? Why, Nicole, of course. Didn't she tell you how close we've become over the past couple of weeks? Shut up, Christine. Oh, yeah, we've been texting a lot. And there are some really fun pictures Nicole sent me. I wanted revenge on you, Sandy, and this dummy made it so easy. Christine showed us her phone, and I stared at the screen in horror. Those were Mom's pictures. Nicole did that and also lied about it. Why would you do that? And for Christine of all people. Nicole looked at me, her eyes blazing. I didn't do this for Christine. I did it for me. You think I'm too blind to see what your mom thinks of me? She's no different from that woman at the Emmys, or anyone at the school. I'm here on a scholarship, and I earned my spot here. You were all born with money and didn't do anything, yet you look down on me. I can't believe this. I never looked down on you. I loved you and trusted you, but you took all your anger out on the wrong person. I know Mom didn't treat you well, but hurting her is hurting me, and you chose to hurt me, Nicole. Please don't talk to me again. I got up and walked away. A couple of weeks later, I was at the door of the girls' bathroom when I suddenly heard screaming from inside. It was Nicole and Christine. Give my books back, Christine! They're so expensive! Don't you dare throw them in the toilet! Oh, I will dare! I'll rip them in front of your eyes and flush them. If you don't steal the exam from the teacher's office and put it in Sandy's locker. I'm not doing that. I never even meant to hurt Sandy. Just give me my stuff back! Just then, Christine ripped Nicole's book, and Nicole attacked her. As the two fought like crazy, I was about to call the principal when I found her walking down the hallway. She heard the screams and pulled the two apart, dragging them both out into the corridor. This is completely unacceptable behavior. You're both suspended. Wait, ma'am, I think you should see this. And with that, I showed her the video I'd made of the two on my phone. When the principal saw how Christine was bullying Nicole, she immediately expelled her in front of everyone. As Christine stormed off angrily behind the principal, Nicole turned to me. You came to my rescue, again. Sandy, I'm so sorry I let my resentment get the better of me. What I did was pathetic. I hurt the best friend I could ever have. Please, please forgive me. Can we possibly start over? I hugged her and forgave her. And now, we're best friends again.
Turn that off or change the channel, I said to my sister Mel. She was glued to the TV watching our dad launch his campaign to be re-elected as a United States Senator.
Jeez, I know you hate Dad, but this is a big day for him.
When I didn't respond, she kept staring at me. Well, what?
This is the part where you say, I don't hate Dad, Mel.
I still said nothing.
Come on, Caleb. I know you and Dad don't get along well, but you don't actually hate him, do you? You know he took it badly after Mom passed away.
I'm sorry, okay? Today was a bad day. I'll just be in my room. I picked up my backpack and left. When I entered my bedroom, I fell backwards on my bed. I opened my backpack and took out the math test Mrs. Owen returned that morning. A giant red F on the front page of the test summed up my life in high school. I was an average student at best, much to my dad's displeasure. He always said that I wasn't applying myself enough, whatever that meant.
Dad's going to be so angry,
Mel said as she grabbed the paper from my bed. I sat up immediately, annoyed at her intrusion. Ever heard of knocking? Give that back.
You know he already told reporters that you'll be joining HSU, right?
HSU is one of the most prestigious colleges in the country. It was also where Dad got his political science degree. My dad always set high standards for us, especially me. He had a position waiting for me in his office once I graduated college. And here I was about to tell him that not only was I not going to HSU, I wasn't sure I'd get into any college at all.
You could always run away and join a circus.
Mel joked and I threw a pillow at her. Before I tell you if I joined the circus or not, please like this video and subscribe to this channel. Also, hit that notification bell so that you'll be alerted when more stories like mine get added here.
Caleb Archibald III, get out here now!
Dad sounded furious. Also, he'd called me by my full name. I'm sure most of you know what that meant. I was in trouble.
You want to tell me what I'm looking at?
He asked as I walked into his office on the second floor of our house. He was staring at my math test. I know you're wondering how he got it. Well, I might have left it on his desk the previous night before I went to bed. I'm sorry, Dad. Looks like I'll not be joining HSU. Dad recoiled, like I'd slapped him in the face.
Caleb, you have one job and one job only, and that is to get into HSU.
And if I don't?
Then you're no longer welcome to live here.
You're forgetting that it's election season. How will it look if you kick me out? The media will love that story.
Is that a threat?
No, just reminding you that you can't afford bad publicity, I said with a smile.
Get out of my office. You're not going to ruin this campaign for me.
Caleb 1, Dad 0. If only high school mathematics was that simple.
Good morning, class. I'm Mr. Salzman, your new math teacher.
I looked up from my phone. What happened to Mrs. Owen? Mr. Saltzman smiled at me.
And you are?
Caleb.
Ah, Senator Archibald's son. You're failing this class, right?
A few of my classmates chuckled.
I'd like to discuss your grades after class.
I'm good, thanks. More chuckles.
Wasn't a request.
I hated Mr. Salty already, but went to see him anyway. If you're about to lecture me on how I'm going to miss college, please, save it.
What does your dad think of your grades?
He's thrilled. He can't wait to use my math test as a campaign poster.
Oh, so you think you're funny?
What do you want?
I asked to see you so I could offer you some private lessons.
No thanks. Mr. Saltzman smiled.
Come on, it'll get your dad off your back. Plus, who knows, you might make it into HSU after all.
How do you know about HSU? I looked at him suspiciously.
Your dad mentioned it on TV during an interview.
You seem to know a lot about my dad. Did he send you? Oh my God, did he get Mrs. Owen fired?
Calm down. He's a public figure, and I happen to like politics.
I visibly cringed, and he laughed.
So, what do you say?
Couldn't hurt to try. I'll talk to my dad about payment.
No need. You can pay me by passing your SAT.
Why are you being so nice to me? Mr. Saltzman looked sad for a second, then smiled.
Just correcting some mistakes I made in the past,
he said, then walked away before I could ask what he meant by that.
Who are you, and what are you doing in my house?
Dad stood at the door to our study room, arms crossed.
I'm Mr. Salzman, Caleb's math teacher.
He extended his hand for Dad to shake, but Dad ignored it.
That doesn't explain what you're doing in my house.
Mr. Saltzman is tutoring me. You wanted me to apply myself, right? This is me applying myself. My dad looked surprised. I guess he never expected me to make any effort in my schoolwork.
All right then, carry on,
he said as he walked out.
I regret voting for him,
Mr. Saltzman said, and we both laughed. If I wasn't mistaken, Mr. Saltzman looked nervous. I thought it was because he just met my dad for the first time, but I was to find out later I was wrong. Mr. Saltzman was hiding a much bigger secret. I can't wait for you to find out what he was hiding. I bet you'll be just as shocked as I was. Look, 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 I said as I ran into Mr. Saltzman's office. I just checked my SAT scores, and I'd done so much better than I'd hoped. I can't believe I did this well. Thank you so much for your help.
Congratulations! Have you told your dad yet?
Not yet. I'll tell him tonight. I have an idea. How about you come for dinner at my house tonight? I want you to be there when I tell him.
I don't know. Your dad didn't seem to like me very much.
Trust me, when he sees my SAT scores, he'll change his mind. Please, come. Fast forward a few hours later, we all sat for dinner. Everything was perfect, except for one thing. When I showed Dad my SAT scores, he was not impressed.
That's slightly above average. I knew hiring a tutor was a waste of money.
You're not even paying him, Dad.
He's tutoring you for free? No wonder he's bad at his job.
Caleb worked really hard, sir. The least you can do is be proud of him.
And who are you to lecture me on how to treat my own son? It's teachers like you that let kids go through school thinking an average grade is all I need to succeed in life.
Dad, I think that's enough.
Do not interrupt me when I'm talking. Your SAT score is nowhere near enough to get you into HSU.
What? But I checked their website. My score's above their minimum entrance score. My dad laughed.
You foolish boy. You think just because you sat and solved a few math and English problems, you're now qualified to join one of the best colleges in the country?
What are you saying? That they won't accept my application?
Oh, they will, but not because of your little SAT score. They'll accept you because a few months ago I promised to build them a new library. It'll be called the Baron Archibald Student Center.
I felt so stupid. I'd spent months studying so I could make my dad proud. You never believed I could pass the test. That's why you made the donation. To say I was frustrated was an understatement.
Look, son, you're not exactly the brightest kid in the class. What was I supposed to do?
You're unbelievable. You have no idea what a good son you have. Is this how you've been treating him all these years? I should never have left him with you.
Mr. Saltzman stood up and took off his glasses. The next thing he did left all of us in shock. He tugged at his hair and kept pulling until it came off. His hair was actually a wig. But that wasn't the crazy part. When he pulled off the wig, long blonde hair fell out. Mr. Saltzman was a woman.
No, it can't be. You? It's been you the whole time?
Dad's face went pale.
Yes, Baron, it's me. Is this how you treat our son?
Did she just say our son? Dad, who is this?
My name is Sarah. I'm your mother.
But, Dad, is this true? Dad sat with his face buried in his hands. I wanted so desperately for him to call her crazy and ask her to leave immediately. Instead, what he said turned my world upside down.
Yes, it's true. 16 years ago, Sarah and I had an affair and I got her pregnant. She left when you were just a few days old.
It's not that simple. I was just a young college intern with no means to raise a child. I thought Baron and his wife were your best chance to have a good life.
So why disguise yourself?
I just wanted to be close to you without revealing who I really am. You seemed happy, and I didn't want to upset you.
You failed, because right now, I'm very upset.
I'm so sorry. I'll leave now.
A few minutes later, she was gone. A few days after that awful dinner, Mr. Saltzman, now Sarah, sent me a text asking me to meet her, but I never responded. Dad and I barely said a word to each other after that night. The last time we spoke, he said that I'd be receiving an acceptance letter from HSU, and I better confirm my enrollment. When the letter finally came, I didn't even bother opening it. I don't see why I'm here. Mel and I stood in our living room waiting for Dad to give his final speech before Election Day. Reporters were camped on our front lawn, waiting for all of us to come out as a family.
Are you still mad?
What do you expect? They basically lied to me my whole life.
At some point, you have to talk to Dad. Look, here he comes now.
Caleb, I know things are a little rocky between us, but please don't embarrass us tonight. I need you to be on your best behavior.
That's all you have to say to me? We're not going to talk about Sarah?
I provided you with everything you needed. I'm not going to have you disrespect me by asking about that woman.
Guys, the reporters are ready for us.
All right, baby.
Dad's speech was basically him praising himself for being a perfect dad, husband, and leader. When he was done talking, he allowed reporters to ask him a few questions.
My question is for Caleb. How does it feel to be joining HSU just like your dad?
Actually, I'll not be attending HSU. You see, the truth is, I told the reporters everything as Dad looked on in horror. I told them about Dad's bribe in the form of a new library at HSU. I also told them about Sarah. By the time I was done talking, Dad's political career was over. The room went wild with questions for my dad, and security had to escort him back inside. Hours later, he resigned from office and dropped his bid for re-election. The following morning, I woke up with a massive headache. Did last night really happen, or did I dream it all?
I want you out of my house. Today.
Dad didn't even bother knocking. I guess that was my answer. I knew there was no point trying to reason with him, so I started packing immediately. I idly scrolled through my phone as I sat in my car, wondering where to go next. I could sleep in my car for a couple of nights, but I knew Dad would have it taken away soon. My phone rang with an incoming call from Mel.
Caleb, I'm so sorry. I tried to talk to him, but he's so mad at you.
It's not your fault.
What will you do?
I have no idea. I have a little cash saved up, plus I could get a job.
Or you could reach out to Sarah. Look at the things she did just to be near you again. She cares about you, Caleb.
By the end of the call, Mel had convinced me to drive to the address Sarah sent me. An hour later, I was parked outside a beautiful white house with a picket fence and a flower garden.
Caleb, I'm glad you're here. Please, come in.
Sarah stood at the doorway smiling at me. I didn't move. He kicked me out.
I'm sorry to hear that, but after what you did, I'm not surprised.
So it's my fault? She laughed.
Of course not. What you did was very brave.
Look what my bravery got me. I'm homeless and have no college to attend.
How about you come in and we try and figure things out?
Okay, I guess. I had so many questions for her, but at the moment, I was grateful to have a place to sleep.
Caleb, get out here. Another letter just came for you.
Sarah was outside tending to her flower garden. I'd been living with her for 2 months, and even though we still had a lot to catch up on, things were going well. After I moved in with her, she helped me send applications to several colleges. She even helped me write my essay, which, as you'd guess, was mostly about my life with Dad and how Sarah came back to my life. Wow, this is my 4th acceptance letter. And look, it comes with a full scholarship, just like the others.
I am so proud of you. So, which one are you gonna pick?
I'm not sure yet, but how about we go visit each of them before I decide?
Wow, I love that.
Sarah looked so happy, and if I was being honest, so was I. As for Dad, I hadn't spoken to him since the day he kicked me out. Mel and I spoke regularly, and she even came to visit Sarah and I. That's the end of my story, but there are so many more on this channel, so happy watching.
Honey, I can't find my gold necklace.
Which one?
The one we just got yesterday.
My dad took a deep and long sigh.
Toby?
Yes, Dad?
Can you please give your mom back her necklace? I just got it yesterday to celebrate our anniversary.
Dad, what makes you think I took it? Everyone stared at me without uttering a word. It made me feel very uncomfortable, so I brought the necklace out of my pocket. Fine, here it is. I was just playing a prank on you guys. Stop taking it so seriously. But they knew I was lying. I wasn't playing any prank. My mom looked sad as she took the necklace from my hand. My dad shook his head in disappointment, and my siblings simply looked away, not wanting to be a part of the drama. Whatever. Stealing from my family was getting too old anyway. It was just too easy since I had secretly made copies of the keys to all their rooms, making me have easy access in and out of their rooms. My siblings were also scared of me and my bad behavior, so we didn't get along. I know you must be wondering why I enjoy stealing. Are my parents poor? Do they starve me? Am I unhappy? These are questions that may be running through your mind at the moment, and I'm sorry to burst your bubble, but none of that is the case in my situation. My parents were well off. I always had an ungodly amount of food available for consumption, and I was very happy. So why do I steal? Well, I just enjoy the thrill. Like and subscribe if you want to find out the terrible way in which I learned my lesson. I extended my stealing talent to school and every other place I went. At first, nobody knew or believed that I was the one responsible for the heinous acts. But once you're caught the first time, people never trust you again. And I was caught so many times. My parents were rich and well known in society. As a result of their high societal position, they were able to pay off any debt I incurred and cover up all of my escapades without any repercussion. I was literally an untouchable rich thief. My parents had done everything they could to help me get better, but it never worked. They even sent me to therapy, but I ended up stealing the therapist's diamond wedding ring and getting banned from the building. I continued with my bad behavior throughout my teenage years until I was finally 20. A new friend of mine was having a really important interview and told me to run to his house, get the documents he forgot, and come back quickly. When I stepped into his apartment, I couldn't help but notice all the shiny, expensive objects used to design his home. I obviously picked up a few of them. I couldn't control myself. The interview went great and my friend hugged me tight. I went to bed that night and woke up to breaking news on TV.
Toby Pio, son of the president of the Pio Group, one of the largest business companies in the country, has been caught stealing on live TV.
Playing on every local TV channel and across social media was CCTV footage of me picking up expensive items in my friend's house and hiding them in my bag.
Toby is an unrepentant thief that has been caught stealing multiple times, but his parents always cover it up and nothing ever happens. It's time to end this injustice. The rich must also pay for their crimes.
Random people started recounting their first-hand experiences with me on TV and across social media. Things were going crazy. I heard a knock on the door and went to open it, only to come face-to-face with some cops.
You are under arrest, Mr. Toby Pio. You have the right to remain silent, and anything you say may be used in a...
I couldn't believe what was happening. My parents and siblings just stared at me getting arrested. Sad, ashamed, and unable to do anything at this particular moment. No one came to bail me for a week. I guess they wanted to punish me. My dad finally came and led me home.
All the charges have been dropped and you're a free man. I've given you a fresh start, but you won't do it here. From this very moment, you're no longer a Pio, son. I'm not your father, and you're not my son. Go to your room, pack your things, and never return.
I left without a word. For some reason, my dad thought that I needed him to survive. He was so wrong. I mean, take a good look at me. A grand thief. I could survive anywhere. I took to the streets and moved in with some random people who lived there. I told them I had crazy skills and could help them earn more money. They accepted me when I showed how crafty, strong, and fast my hands were.
Did you just lift up a huge refrigerator all by yourself? Oh my God, you're so strong. How are you so strong?
I didn't just lift up the fridge. I also took your wallet while doing that.
What? That's crazy. We need a lot of strong and skilled men like you here. Welcome home.
In less than a year, I became the talk of the streets. A thieving outcast son of a rich family, ruling the streets like he owned it. This drew the attention of some silent street patrons, and they started sending me on difficult jobs. I aced them all. In a very short time frame, I was drowning in wealth once again. Everyone knew that I had money, but they could never trace it. No one ever knew where I hid them. I was still living like a poor broke guy with other poor broke people. One day, the police attacked our shelter for no good reason. They said they were looking for a thief, and we didn't know what they were talking about. A police officer suddenly approached me, and I tried to defend myself, but I realized that the police officer was actually my older brother. As a result of this, I hesitated and paused for a split second. Immediately, my brother saw me. He assumed that I must have been the thief that they were sent to search for, so he quickly struck me hard and knocked me out. I was half conscious when I noticed that I was inside a police car, cuffed and gagged. While trying to regain full consciousness, a heavy wind started to blow, and the trees on each side of the road closed in on us. These funny-acting trees actually picked up the vehicles and shook them violently, knocking everyone, including me, out once again. When I woke up, I was in a very strange house with an even stranger old woman staring down at me. It looked like a scene straight out of Hansel and Gretel. Where am I? Who are you? What am I doing here? What do you want from me?
Shh, shh, shh. Silence, young thief, or you might wake my sleeping dragons.
I turned round to see where she was pointing, and lo and behold, two massive dog-like beings lay there sleeping, with hot smoke coming out of their mouth and nostrils as they snored. I became as quiet as a statue.
Who knew a renowned thief could get scared so easily? Let me cut to the chase. I need you to steal something for me. If you are successful on this quest, I will give you a reward so great, mortals can't even imagine it.
The witch wanted me to steal a magical gold bracelet from another witch who also lived in the same forest, but farther down. She couldn't go herself because the witch would smell her miles away, even if she was invisible. Wait a minute, we're in a forest?
Deep, deep inside. No human can ever find us unless we bring them in.
Wonderful. Continue.
To help you with this difficult quest, I am giving you a magic perfume. Once sprayed, this perfume makes you invisible. making it possible for you to slip in and out of anywhere without getting noticed. It also makes it possible for you to walk right through walls and enter wherever without needing a door.
Why do I need to take so much precaution if I'm just going to steal a bracelet?
Because if that witch catches you, she's gonna cut you into tiny bits, cook you and eat you.
Christ.
So be careful. Be gone now, thief.
With a wave of her hand, I found myself in front of the other witch's house. As I stood there thinking, I wondered what reward that witch could possibly give me that would be greater than the perfume I was already holding in my hand. I decided that it wasn't worth the risk of getting eaten, so I took the perfume and found my way out of the forest without stealing the bracelet. My street brothers were so happy to see me. They thought I was done for. I laughed and told them that I was fine. This perfume made me grow from a great thief to an unstoppable one. The best part was that no one could trace these robberies back to me because I was never really there. My guys and I continued stealing and stacking up wealth, but unfortunately our good luck didn't last for too long. 1 month later, I was sleeping and dreaming of my next successful job when the witch appeared in my room. She jumped on my bed and grabbed me, trying to disappear with me, but I quickly slipped out of her grasp and escaped. I picked up the perfume and sprayed it on myself, disappearing right in front of her eyes. She immediately blocked the door. "Why are you blocking the door, witch? It seems you've forgotten that I don't need doors to move." Realizing this, she left the door, but by speaking, I had unintentionally revealed my location to her. She immediately pointed her stick towards the direction of my voice. Green lightning came out of the stick, hitting me hard and making it impossible for me to become invisible again. As I lay on the floor, frantically spraying the perfume all over my body and freaking out because nothing was happening, the witch approached me.
How dare you steal from me? You'll regret the second you made that decision.
She grabbed me by my collar and disappeared with me. I woke up in her tiny cottage once again, but this time I was lying on the floor of a cage. Her two scary pets were circling me, almost like they were getting ready to eat me.
Oh, will you look at that? He finally came to.
I was too scared to speak, so I just stayed still. The witch snapped her fingers, and I was out of the cage, a safe distance away from those beasts. She pointed to my stomach, and a tiny swirl appeared on it, almost like a tornado.
With every second that passes by, that hole in your stomach will get bigger. I am sending you back on your original mission. If you don't return in time, the hole in your stomach will keep getting bigger and bigger until you disappear from the world forever. It'll be like you never existed.
Why do you need this bracelet so much?
None of a human's business.
With a wave of her hands once again, I found myself in front of the second witch's house. I brought out the perfume, sprayed it on myself, and then walked right in through the wall of the house. The witch didn't notice me thanks to the power of the magic perfume, so I slipped right in and easily stole the bracelet. By the time I found my way back to the first witch's house using the magical compass she gave me, the hole in my stomach had already eaten up half of my body, and I was freaking out. I gave the woman the bracelet. "Here, I've done your dirty work. The bracelet is yours. Now please, release me from this scary and painful hole forming in the middle of my body."
Easy, son. I will fulfill my promise, but you must also get punished for stealing from me. A frail old witch who wanted to turn your life around. I will also still reward you for your hard work and for not getting killed by the second witch. Everyone I've previously sent never made it back.
What?
I am taking away your greatest gift and greatest curse, punishing and rewarding you at the same time,
She said while touching my forehead. She took back her perfume and told me that I was free to go. When I got home, I was in a jolly good mood because the witch hadn't killed me and I was happy to be alive. I went right back to stealing, but things weren't the same anymore. After 3 unsuccessful jobs, I realized that I lost my ability to steal. The witch had really taken away my greatest gift and curse. I was confused and didn't know who I was anymore, so I moved out of the country and started a new life with the money I'd been saving all this time. I was still very skilled with my brain and hands. I just couldn't use them to steal anymore. I chose to attend a physical 3-month boot camp to learn software engineering. I excelled in all my courses and got 3 job offers before even graduating. I chose the most fulfilling job offer and started working as a software engineer. While working, I fell in love with a beautiful coworker who worked in the same building as me. We started dating and ended up getting married and starting a family. After my wife heard my life story, she convinced me to apologize to my parents and ask for forgiveness. I refused at first, but she kept insisting. It took me 2 years to finally set my pride aside and visit my family with my 2 tiny kids. They were happy to see me and embraced me with open arms before I even asked for forgiveness. When I apologized, my dad said he was the one who should have been apologizing because he was too harsh on me. Thanks to my wife, I was able to mend my relationship with my family. Looking back at my life now, I've realized that what the witch did to me, taking away my greatest gift and curse, was the best thing that ever happened to me. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed my story. Yeah, one more thing. Don't steal.